everyone, I'm Mine, and this is set number 70653, Firstbourne from the LEGO Ninjago theme. This set originally released in 2018 as a part of the Ninjago Hunted wave, and contains 882 pieces, 6 minifigures, and originally retailed for $69.99 in the US. This video is a part of my Ninjago throwback review series, so let me know in the comments which throwback review you guys want to see next week. Give me the name of any Ninjago set from 2011 to 2018, and I may use your suggestion for next week's video. By the way, I did make a full playlist of my previous throwback reviews, so feel free to check that out to see which ones I've already done. But with all that being said, let's get into this video. So here's the main build of this set, Firstbourne herself, and she's of course a very important character in Hunted and also just in Ninjago lore overall. So in 2018, this was the set I knew I wanted to get just because she was so important. But after having her in hand, is this set actually any good? Well, let's take a look up a little bit closer. So starting at the head of the dragon, this might be one of the best brick-built dragon heads we ever got. I do prefer molded to brick-built overall, but of the brick-built ones, this one is really good. The printed eyepieces are perfect here. I think they do a great job of like demanding a presence. The yellow of the eye probably should be printed on a little bit brighter, but that's not a huge deal and definitely does not take away from the overall look of this dragon. The horns coming out the top look really cool too, and I think the bright orange spikes had a nice little splash of color without being too overbearing for the main red color. She has a bottom jaw which can be hinged open. I do think that bottom jaw looks a little bit awkward. Not bad by any means, but just a little bit strange. I don't know if there's an easy way that could be improved, but yeah, I guess it just feels a little bit thin for how big this dragon is overall, but it's not a huge deal and it looks fine when everything's all closed up. You've probably already seen me moving it around, but the head's connected onto the neck with a mini ball joint right here, and then the neck's connected onto the body with a full-size ball joint, so that way you can get a few poses with this dragon. However, posability range is fairly limited. The neck's pretty good. It can go side to side, up, and then not too far down, pretty much just go out straight, but the head is a very limited range. This is as far up and down as it can go, and then it can go a little bit more side to side. There are, of course, these two chains coming down, which can have a minifigure hold on to if they're going to control Firstbourne, and then there's a seat on the back for the minifigure to sit. This is one of the best incorporated seats I've ever seen on Ninjago Dragon. It's a small thing, but I think it's very well done. I love like these brown triangular pieces. I've seen them used very rarely in LEGO sets, but they do work quite well here. And you can see the entire thing is quite easy to remove if you want Firstbourne to be wild without the seat on it. There's just a few stubs at the back, but I think those look fine and don't take away from like the overall very organic look of this build. The wings come out to the side in these little Technic beams, and they start out brick built, but then they transition into vinyl. And the vinyl wing pieces do look quite cool. I love like the sort of skeletal-like dragon bone design. And once again, those bright orange spikes add that nice little splash of color without being too overbearing. And of course, both wings are pretty much identical, just mirrored. Now, if you want to move the wings, you can manually grab them and push them up, but then they're just going to fall back down. The intended play feature with that is with these Technic pieces right here. You can see there's these two red Technic pieces on Firstbourne's back right behind the saddle. And if you push down on them, they'll actually move the wings up. And then when you let go of them, they drop the wings down. So by pressing on both of them at once, you have a play option to actually have Firstbourne flap her wings. Or alternatively, you can just press one of them individually. This is a fun option, but overall, in my opinion, very inconvenient. I much prefer when dragons have ways to just properly pose their wings, and it's not incorporated into a play feature. Because that works fine, but it makes it so that these wings are permanently out, and thereby makes Firstbourne hard to store. Luckily, Firstbourne does have the capability to fold her wings up somewhat. You just push in like this, and there you go. They're a lot more compressed now, but even still, she takes up a fairly big footprint. It would have been nicer if there's a way to just put the wings down. There just unfortunately is not. Coming down the dragon's back, this like cascading design looks really cool, though. She does get very skinny in the center here, and then it widens out a little bit at the end, but it's still very thin. I kind of wish there was a little bit more bulk there, because yeah, that feels a little bit awkward to me. With how important and big and powerful this dragon's supposed to be, it's weird that it's only 2 studs wide right here. I think I'm getting a little ahead of myself, though. Taking a look at the dragon's chest inside, it's done perfectly. This almost feels like an early version of Lloyd's Legendary Dragon from this year, 2022, because it's got like this very rounded chest design with like these cascading rock pieces, and I think that looks fantastic. And then on the side, I love like these rounded shoulder blades. I think those look really cool too. And then the legs are coming out of the base right here. But then on the back, everything's just a lot thinner and simpler. Just like gray building pieces are exposed. It's only 2 to 4 studs wide. I don't know. I get it's going to be thinner at the back than at the front, but I do wish there was a little bit more going on here. But now coming to the legs, we come to the opposite issue where I feel like the front legs feel a little bit too thin, and the back legs are very thick, but the back legs I think work well enough for the size of this dragon. Looking at this up close though, like these legs are so tiny. Again, only 2 studs wide holding up this gigantic dragon feels a little bit strange to me. I mean, seeing the entire thing, like, it does work, don't get me wrong, but I don't know, I think bulkier would have been cooler here, but I guess this does make it a little bit more posable, because it doesn't have too much bulk getting in the way. Of course, the legs are the same on the other side, just mirrored, and these legs are connected on a rigid Technic joint, so they can be moved forward, moved back, moved out a little bit, lots of different options there. Then you also have a ball joint for the foot. So there's quite a few ways you can pose this dragon. But now moving to the back legs, I feel like they have the bulk they need. This gap right here does look a little bit awkward, but I still think it works well enough, especially with like this rounded piece and everything. And I haven't mentioned these stickered scale pieces yet, but those do look really cool. And I like how they tie the bright orange back in right here too. The only thing is, I feel like these legs are now too bulky for how thin of a body it comes off of. It almost might look better to swap the front legs and the back legs, though I don't know, I just think the front legs should have been bulkier, and then the back of the dragon should have been bulkier as well. But no, these legs do look really good. Once again, same rigid Technic joint connection, so lots of different options for posing that here. And then full-size ball joint at the foot, with 3 individually posable toes as opposed to the 2 on the front leg. So yeah, no, I do think these back legs look good and are very posable. I just wish there's more consistency with the rest of the dragon. And then finally we come to the tail, which is a pretty standard tail function. This is one they've been using for years. You just spin this Technic piece right here and the entire tail swings. It's very fun to just whip that back and forth. And in terms of design, it looks pretty good too. You got a few of those bright orange spikes, a few rounded red pieces, and then the very last part's connected on a mini ball joint so you can articulate that however you want. And you have one of these pointed triangular pieces at the end which make a perfect tip for a tail, and they're also just very fun. I love how they're rubber at the end, but plastic at the base. In terms of posability, this dragon's actually really good, specifically in like the legs. You can very easily get it in a walking pose like this, and pretty much as long as you have at least 2 feet touching the ground, one front and one back, you can pose it pretty much however you want. It's very stable. So that is a benefit I'll give it. It is great for play. And head, while I wish there was a larger range of motion, there's still some expressions you can get out of that too. So yeah, I do quite like this dragon overall. I just wish there was a bit more to it. It's not as perfect as I'd hoped it would be. And with how important Firstbourne is to Hunted and Ninjago as a whole, it just kind of disappoints me that it's far from one of my favorite Ninjago dragons. A solid build all around and by far not a bad dragon, but we've gotten so many Ninjago dragons over the years and unfortunately there is just quite a few better ones. But I think that's about it for the main build of the set. So now let's move on to the side builds, then the minifigures, and then I'll give you my overall thoughts. So the first side build in the set is a little helicopter for the dragon hunters, and this is small but cute. I think it does what it wants to really well. Obviously it's going for that like apocalypse Mad Max style vibe, where it's like scrapped together parts, you got bones and like these silver blades coming out, and it's all like very barren and thin, but I think LEGO captured that absolutely perfectly. I love these little like vents right here, these bones, this like very exposed engine in the center. There's clips on the sides to hold the dragon hunter's weapons if you want. You get 2 of these little sword builds in the set, which can be detached and used as weapons, but when they're on the build they just add to the overall vibes, just like a fully weaponized helicopter. A few stickers just showing some like dragon scratches. There's also stud shooters, which of course can be shot out. Very similar thing on the other side though with a slightly different sticker. In the center area you have this cockpit which can be opened up, and inside there's no console or anything, but there's room for 1 minifigure to sit. And now the back you have like this telephone pole piece. You can have minifigures hang from these bars right here if you wanted to. You have one of the orange chains connect back here, so if you wanted you can remove that and like toss that at like Firstbourne to capture the dragon if you wanted. There's also an entire turkey piece hanging from this clip back here with 1 turkey leg. The other one comes as an accessory for Chew Toy, but you can very easily remove that and reattach that right here. This is very cool to me. When I was a kid, I always wanted the full turkey piece, and while I have quite a few nowadays, I never ended up getting one when I was still a kid. So this makes me happy to see, because kids who got this set when it was out were able to get that piece in a much more accessible way. But yeah, at the end of that telephone pole piece, you have like this little tail fin right here, as well as this like little spinning rotor. That's made out of teeth, and I think that's a lot of fun, especially when you spin it. Just the way that looks when it spins is so cool. Especially on camera, yeah, because it's like trying to pick up the right amount of frames. That's so fun, I love that. And then of course it's a helicopter, so it's got a propeller at the top. This can be spun just by spinning the actual blades, or you can spin this Technic gear at the bottom. And that can make it go really fast. But yeah, I think that's about it for the Dragon Hunter's helicopter. Overall, pretty good side build, no complaints from me. It has that like scrapped together apocalypse vibe, while also just looking quite cool, feeling complete, and being fun to play with. I think this is a fantastic build, and really adds a lot to this set. And then finally, we have a little shrine for the dragon armor, because the dragon armor was the collectible in these sets, and this set specifically came with the helmet and the shield, and there's not much to it, just a little Rocky formation, a little clip to hold the shield, little stud to hold the helmet, and I mean, it's cute, it's a nice bit of terrain to add to your world, but it's pretty much just here to give you these 2 accessories, so I don't have a ton to say about it. Dead bush piece is nice to get though, but yeah, it's pretty much what you see is what you get. So here are the first 2 minifigures in the set. We have Hunted Kai and Hunted Cole, and the Hunted suits are some of Ninjago's best. SOG and Hunted just look amazing in terms of their designs, and these figures are no exceptions, well, except for one little thing, which I'll talk about in a moment. Starting with Kai, though, this guy's fantastic all around. SOG Kai is my favorite Ninjago minifigure of all time, and probably my favorite LEGO minifigure of all time, and this is pretty much just a variant of that suit. It's got the same thing with, like, the intricate little dots, the black belt, black knee pads, but it's been redesigned to look more worn down and tattered. You can see he's got, like, chainmail armor on the one side and then a torn sleeve on the other. I just think that looks amazing all around. Then he reuses the SOG hood, but with a black bottom half mask. And I think that's an interesting color combination. He definitely looks best unmasked, which is how he appears in the show for most of it. But even still masked, he looks fine. And then he carries over the SOG armor, which honestly works pretty well here. He also comes with what I believe this was called the Dragon Blade. This is what Wu carried in Hunted, but in the sets it was like the collectible that came in every set, even the ones without Wu. So he does hold that here. But yeah, I think this guy's just a super detailed, fantastic minifigure. Conveys like that rundown, scrapped together look that Hunted's going for, while also just feeling very complete. Absolutely no complaints with this figure. Hunted Cole, I have very similar feelings about. I think the look is fantastic. I love the variation on the SOG suit. The SOG suit's fantastic, and the design here is really great. The ripped sleeves look really cool, and the exposed chest is an interesting decision. But one thing with this guy is the printing quality. The graphic designers did it perfect, but the printing quality absolutely ruins this figure. The yellow of his chest is not printed dark enough, so it just feels discolored with everything else, and thereby just pretty much ruins this minifigure for me. Like, it's so discolored and such an important part of the design, it really hurts it. I wish they had done that better, because it's such a cool design. The graphic designers did such a good job, but they really needed to print that on darker. He also pretty much just uses his SOG hood. Now, something I didn't know is there are actually two variants of this guy, one with his movie hood and one with his SOG hood. The one that comes in this set is the one with the movie hood, but it makes very little difference. It's just the color of the symbol on the hood is orange versus gold. I think the orange does look better, but the gold works well enough. I don't think it's a huge deal. Then turning these two around, you can see Cole's back torso print, as well as that sword holder on Kai. And then removing hoods and armor there, you can see their alternate faces, as well as Kai's back torso print. Kai's back torso print, again, just looks so good. You can see the chainmail armor comes back around. That brown strap continues back here too, and you can see it's covering up that SOG symbol that he had. And then Cole's back torso print is a bit simpler. Again, discolored back printing, but the actual robes do look really nice. And then face prints are, of course, the same ones they had from the movie. But yeah, I really like both these guys, except for the printing quality on Cole. Design-wise, though, they're fantastic. And Hunted Kai, once again, has to be one of my favorite minifigures of all time. Then we come to my favorite Ninjago couple. We have Heavy Metal and Jet Jack. The Dragon Hunters have this really cool, like, Mad Max Apocalypse-esque design, and I think both of these two do it really perfectly. Heavy Metal has this super elaborate armor piece, this really detailed torso, and then they both share the same exact legs. And Jet Jack's torso is a lot simpler, but honestly fits her character, because she's supposed to have that jetpack attachment, and the printing actually shows the straps to the front of the jetpack, while the actual jetpack is brick-built, and I think that works perfectly. In terms of accessories, Heavy Metal comes with like this crossbow chain launcher. This is similar to what they actually use in the series to hunt down the dragons. And while this isn't like a stud shooter or anything, it can actually shoot. You can manually remove this front part right here and pretend to have it like shoot out. But yeah, torso design on Jet Jack I think is fantastic. I love all the metallic printing and the subtle colors used. The olive greens are a really interesting choice, but I think it works perfectly. Same thing on Jet Jack. And the legs, well, it's a little bit disappointing that they're both the same exact thing. I do think it works for both the characters, so I don't think it's a huge deal. And again, I think the color combination is just done perfectly. Every color's used in the right amount with the right amount of detail. I absolutely love how these two look. Turn them around so you can see the back of these armor pieces as well as Jet Jack's jetpack. There you go. The jetpack's a fairly simple little build, but I mean, it works for what it wants to be. And you can see Heavy Metal's armor actually has a place to hold a little knife right here, just to be another accessory for her. Now removing accessories, you can get a full look at their torso prints. You can see like that cloth and Heavy Metal sort of like stitched together. And then you can also see her full face print, where she's got like the cloth wrap around her face, the robotic eye. And it looks like the cloth's even maybe a little stained at the bottom. And then Jet Jack has a fantastic face print too. I don't think I've talked about that yet. But the braces are like a really cool look. The metallic glasses look super cool. I kind of wish she had a more neutral expression. She wasn't constantly angry. But angry does work for her being like a bad guy in the context of these sets. Then turn these two figures around. You can see the back face prints on both of them. Neither of them have an alternate face, but you can see Heavy Metal just has that wrap around the back. And then Jet Jack, this is kind of cool. She just sort of has like a fade of hair because of course she has the mohawk piece that attaches on top. So that's to create transition from the hairpiece to the headpiece. It's similar to what they did with Ninjago Movie Zane, and I think it works perfectly and honestly just adds a lot more detail to the figure. And then back torso prints are both pretty good. You can see Jet Jack just has a backpack around here for when jetpack's removed. And Heavy Metal has more of that metallic printing, more of that orange chain, which looks really cool, and then more of that like olive green cloth. Yeah, I really like this figure. Hunted went all out with their minifigures, and these two are no exception. I really like both of them, and I think they're really cool characters in the show, too. And then the final two minifigures in the set, we have Chew Toy and Muzzle. Now, Chew Toy is an awesome minifigure, such a goofy character in the show, but they capture him absolutely perfectly on the minifigure. He's got a really ridiculous face print, like little sideburns growing. The single spike on the samurai helmet's really funny as well. And then, like, this larger castle armor piece looks really cool. I love just, like, how run down it looks, with, like, I don't know, this splotchy black paint all over it, as well as the Dragon Hunter symbol in orange in the center. And then he comes with a shield as well as a chicken wing as an accessory, which just fell off. But no, he is genuinely a very funny minifigure. And then taking his armor off, you can see he actually has the same torso print as Heavy Metal, which is a bit of a shame because Heavy Metal does have a fantastic torso print, but it kind of makes her less special that he has it too. And you can see Muzzle also has that same exact torso print, as well as the same exact armor piece as Heavy Metal. The only difference between Muzzle and Faith is the head and hood piece. So while we're here, let's take a look at that. That hood piece is really cool. I love the way it connects with that bottom armor piece, and I believe it also connects with like the ninja hoods of this wave. So that's very interesting. I'm surprised they never really used that again. Yeah, you can see it's got the like stamp connection thing out the back. But of course, you saw the rest of the armor piece before, and there he is with everything removed, where you can see his mouth just covered up. And then take a look at them from the back. Same exact back torso print, of course, and no alternate face on either of them, which is a little bit disappointing, but it's not a huge deal. So yeah, great characters that I'm happy to get, and I do appreciate that they at least all have unique face prints, but I really wish the torso prints were more varied, especially on Muzzle, because the fact that he's only 2 pieces off from Heavy Metal is very disappointing. Heavy Metal is such an important character that this guy shouldn't be sharing so many parts with her. But overall, that doesn't make them bad figures. The figures still look great altogether. I just wish there was more uniqueness in them. And so, what are my overall thoughts of this set? This set's good, but I wish it was better. And I do think it set the foundation for what would go on to be some of the best Ninjago dragons we've ever gotten. But unfortunately, I feel like it just comes a little bit too short in a few places. The head's good, but feels a little bit off. The body is great until you get to the end side. The legs are posable, but look a little bit weird. I don't know. I do like this set a lot. And again, with how important Firstbourne is to like the world of Ninjago, I'm very happy I have this set. But with how important she is, it's just like, man, I really wish this set was just a little bit better. And then also my other major criticism, which is a little thing, Wu really should have come in this set. I assume this was designed as a Kai dragon, and then the writers of the show turned it into a Wu dragon. But because this dragon is never ridden by Kai and it's pretty much only ridden by Wu in the show, Wu really should have come in this set. But all that's to say, I would still recommend this set, but it's not for everybody. Like, I really like building out my Ninjago world, like everything from the world of Ninjago having physically in LEGO form. So Firstbourne was a very important step for that, and that's why I do love having her so much in my collection. But if you're just someone who's going for like cool builds, cool sets, you probably don't need this one. Like, it's good, don't get me wrong, but especially with like Lloyd's Legendary Dragon being on shelves right now for cheaper than this would be in the aftermarket, that is, I would recommend something like that over this one. Because yeah, while it's good, it leaves a little bit to be desired. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think of this set in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please press like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I do LEGO and Ninjago videos just like this one almost every day, so if you subscribe, be the first to see them. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!